Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to my tutorial series on AEM Designer. Today, we're going to be looking at some best practices for bringing an existing form into Designer. So, right now we have a PDF document that I'm about to open up, but I'm just going to show it off how it looks in Acrobat first before we bring it in. So, I'm going to go into Acrobat, and this is what our form looks like. So, if we preview it, I've already filled this all out with the appropriate fields. So, we have some text at the very top, a couple of tables, so with some name fields, two tables with their appropriate fields like that. We got a drop-down menu, some more text, checkbox, radio buttons, and some more checkboxes down here. So now we're going to open that up in Designer. And so first we have to import it. And you have a couple of different options here. You can make an interactive form with fixed pages, or you can make one with a flowable layout that'll be more editable, and it'll make it more easier to make it dynamic. And I'm going to go with the second option here. So, like it says, it makes the content in the original document editable and lets you create flowable elements in your form design. So, we've just brought this into AEM Designer, and as we can see, our hierarchy is filled out, and we're able to edit this precisely as if this were just a form we built out in Designer. But let's get to it. Let's get to fixing this. Now, the first thing that I always do when I bring in a form is check the hierarchy. Always, always, always check the order. So, additionally, like the subforms are formatted kind of weirdly, so I'll fix those later. But for now, I just want to make sure that everything is in order. So, it looks like that paragraph is its own subform, and each line is its own text box. That's fine. Heading. Okay. And now it appears we have a lot of rectangle objects, which together make up this table. Interesting. That isn't very important at the moment, but we just want to make sure that everything appears in order. And I believe this particular form, there are some things that are no longer in order. So, okay, those are our fields. Fields. Okay, yes. Important thing to point out here. So, notice how we jump from this text field over here down to these checkboxes at the bottom while completely skipping over the content up here. So that's something important. That's one of the reasons why you always want to manually check this. Even if it looks like it's in order, somebody else might have added things on top of this document at a later date, in which case they would appear at the end of the order, but visually they're not in the proper order. So we have to change this around. So we're going to take these checkboxes and move them to the end. Just like that. Okay. And then we would go on and continue that process, making sure that all these text objects and those text fields are in the proper order. Moving on. So then, once we have everything in the proper order, we would organize things into subforms. And, well, in this case, we would actually do a bit of deconstruction here. I would get rid of this subform at the very top. Like, this subform only contains this text object, sample MS Word form. That's a bit superfluous. I would just get rid of that subform. I would move this text box into this one below it. Well, I'll move it to the top, actually. Okay, so now the sample MS Word form is a part of this subform P bracket 1. And quick note here, the reason why it's called P bracket 1 and P bracket 0 is because technically all of these subforms are named P, but Designer needs to find a way to differentiate things. So we have our P bracket 0 and P bracket 1. If we were to delete this, when we delete P bracket 0, then P bracket 1 will become the new P bracket 0. So delete, and the name dynamically changes, just like that. Just a little quirk of how Designer names its own objects. So, like that, we would then, again, I would probably, well, with this table actually, I would get rid of all this rectangular nonsense, and I would just make this into a new table. I would just get rid of this, create a new table object. So we could make a new table object like from over here, and then we could use create the table builder like this. We could make, let's see, Yeah, we'll have like a header row, we'll have 2 columns and 5 body rows. And so we would just format it like that. We would just say personal information at the top, name, address, city, state, zip. We would do all that stuff. And then we would repeat the process for this company information. And even better, we would make this a dynamic table. So our respondents would have more space to fill out various options with those tables. So I'm not going to get into it fully in detail because that I would be here all day. But those are just some of the basic principles for how you can redesign a form. Basically, you want to make sure everything is in proper order. You want to take those tables and make sure and get rid of them, like make sure they're actual table objects and not just, a collection of rectangles masquerading as a table. But yeah, once you get that done, once everything's in order, once everything is named properly, you're well on your way to building out a good form. Next time we're going to be designing a form from scratch, and I'm going to show off some ways for how to design it as a table from the get-go. So until then, take care.